brutal
scripting
though.
eh.
That's very Korean drama.
Hi, I'm Shanice.
I'm Vanessa.
I'm Zain.
Hi, I'm Leah, and this is
ZULA ChickChats.
So today we'll be talking about dealing with your parents' disapproval of your partner or your partner's parents' disapproval of you. So first of all, have you guys been in a relationship where you or your partner's parents disapprove of your relationship?
Yes. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
So for mine, it was more of a case of religion and race. So to them, the religion will be a very big problem. They worry this goes on in the long run. When we get married, it will be a huge issue because they're very traditional. So it probably contributed to why they were very negative or they were very disapproving towards the relationship.
So because my parents have a very conservative mindset, right, and they want what's best for their children and stuff, the kind of ideal jobs that they want. Oh, your daughter, you'll be like, woo!
Oh,
But
okay.
obviously that's not very realistic, because not everyone's going to be dating people like that. So when they found out that the guys I've dated were, not say unconventional jobs, but these jobs might not be very stable or I might not be able to lead a good life. But of course, I mean, this is a very traditional mindset.
For mine, it's a little bit different because I think for them, it's more so like their own parents actually disapprove. For mine, it was my ex's parents who disapprove entirely. I told the parents I'm dating your child, and then of course the dad was not happy with it. It's like, okay,
they ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Since it is clearly disapproval, and so I decided, okay, maybe the dad is right. And then the dad was like, okay, how about you say that you want to break up and then you just leave. So eventually I actually did that. I went over to the place. I said, okay, I just said what the dad wanted me to say, because I think I thought I was giving the best to my ex because maybe I'm not the right person. But at the same time, of course, I still feel bad lah.
I feel so sad. I'm like, okay, in my situation, right, it wasn't so bad. I don't feel that it was so much of disapproval, they don't like the relationship at all. It's just they're very apprehensive about me. So I obviously don't look like the typical good girl Chinese girl, right? Then then I got tattoo, then I got piercing all. So I try to be as honest as possible, and I think he kind of preempted them a bit. It was a lot of backhanded comments to him. Yeah, that I heard secondhand from him. Next question would then be, what do you feel about the rationale behind the disapproval? Is it okay for you, or do you feel that it was you don't deserve this kind of disapproval?
So I felt like my parents' disapproval was stemming from something that was not very fair to my boyfriend because it was just maybe lack of awareness. So it was a lot of misunderstandings, a lot of stereotypes in a sense. So I just felt it wasn't fair to him because he was a great guy, and to be labeled all those things that he was not, it was just not very fair to him.
For mine, at first I thought it was ridiculous. In retrospect, because if I were to put myself in their shoes, I can totally see where they're coming from. I would probably react the same way. So if my kid were to date someone I dated back in the day, I would be strongly against it as well.
I think mine is a little bit different because I think the way that I was brought up and how I see my parents as okay, I need to have my parents' blessings, and I also need to have my partner's parents' blessing in terms of any relationship. They don't approve, so I would try to understand where they're coming from, and then if they really don't approve, then there's no point in go and hide or force it. To kind of put it all together, I do think that their reasoning was valid, but perhaps the way that they actually broke it to me on the disapproval and how I should go about ending it could be better, improved in a sense.
In my situation, I can understand why she thought that way, because the perception of people with tattoos and piercings are, bad influence, troublemaker, all this kind of thing. But I do feel that she at least made the effort to try and understand and talk to me rather than just shut me out. After you found out your parents disapprove or your partner's parents disapprove, right? Did you and your partner find any ways to resolve this disapproval?
It was more of trying to change their mindset about whatever they were harping on, and this took time. So my boyfriend sort of have to prove himself to my parents, and I think basically after a while they saw it for themselves. They grew to see that beyond the differences, they just saw him as my boyfriend and as someone who is capable of giving me a good future.
Do you and your partner have a conversation about it?
We nearly broke up. When we were at our 2-year marker, but I think part of us just felt like it'd be a huge waste to give up this relationship because of religion. It's a mindset issue.
I've heard people say when my parents disapprove, then we cannot love that kind. They don't even want to work it out, they just take it as it is. And they don't want to fight for it, that kind. Which I do understand where they're coming from because their parents' opinions are very, very important. Yes, to a certain extent you need to have some approval, but it shouldn't be 100% your parents say this and then you follow your parents. You're not 12, that kind. For me, I think you just said I think you need to give her time and everything, which I did. So luckily it didn't turn into something negative. It was a good thing because my partner at that point in time didn't pressure me to conform to a certain way. Like he wasn't like, okay, don't do any more tattoos, don't do any more piercings, all this kind of thing. Yeah, and I feel that for people's parents who like disapprove this kind of situations, right, your partner also has to be understanding towards the other party. And I think it's always a compromise, I feel. Yeah.
No, but what if like your parents actually cry and then tell you to just break up? Like I think it's for mine, okay,
It's like-
kind of chop, like, finish, that's it. Like the mom actually broke down in tears in front of me. So at that point, like I told myself, because like I am so close to the entire family already, so I said, okay, you know what, I really love the family and I really love the parents, so if I have hurt the parents in that way, I felt really, really bad. That's why I was really okay with going with the flow and just like doing whatever the dad told me to.
Okay, so for mine, right, one of the guys actually did something about it.
Okay.
So the rest were just like, oh well,
too bad.
accept me for me, that kind of thing, right? He's Australian and he's a plumber.
Ah, okay.
So it's a very unconventional job from a Singaporean perspective.
Yes.
He kind of understood where we're coming from because he knows that people in Singapore, they do office jobs and things like that. He actually went back to school part-time just so he can get like a diploma, like a proper job. He did that to assure my parents.
Wow.
And that was like a really huge thing. So
Okay.
that was like, wow!
So then, because we talked so much about like the parents' approval and disapproval, right? So how much should their opinions matter in your relationship?
Does matter to a certain extent, because I just felt like, I'm respecting my parents' decision, but at the same time, if I feel like their reasons are not very valid, I wouldn't end things because of that. I would try and change their mindset.
For me, it means everything to me, but I have never actually broken up with a guy immediately just because my parents disapprove. It's just down the road, the relationship just didn't work out. Their disapproval, it's like another incentive, like, yeah, it's true, it's not working out, my parents are not approving of them anyway.
Like I think for me also, I think same as her, like they matter a lot. I really love my parents and at the same time also my partner's parents. So it really matters to me. Let's say if none of them like approve of it, then I will want to know why, because learning from my experience, I want to know why and like really talk it out. Then let's say if there is a point whereby I feel that their way of thinking can actually be changed, improving myself to better fit their ideals so that I can convince the parents, I can actually take care of your child.
I think it's because like the reasoning behind it, right? For example, if it's something that is like superficial, then obviously you feel like, why should I change this kind of thing? If you're criticizing someone for not conforming to what your norms are, right? It doesn't matter, right? Because you can look like a bad person, but doesn't mean I'm a bad person, right? The last question would be, any advice you can give for people facing this situation?
I feel like if your parents are very traditional and conservative like mine, give them time. When my mom realized we were serious, I just like had to talk with her properly and stuff. I didn't like push my parents to like see my point or agree with me right away. And I think eventually it sank in, leaving religion and race aside. Just him as a person, him as a human being, he's a nice person. Like like when you fly a kite, you can like let go and then pull it back, let go and pull it back. You cannot keep like tugging at it. Like it's just gonna fall apart like, basically.
The thing is for myself, I need to prove that I am worthy of taking care of someone. So is it because of my face? Is it because of like my attitude or whatever? And then I will try to improve so that I can be the version that they want me to be, but at the same time try to be myself. So it's more of like a pushing factor for guys, I feel, to kind of prove the parents wrong, like, hey, I'm not that kind of person you think I am.
For young people, you tend to draw this line between you and your parents because you feel like they don't understand what you're going through. Being honest will help you essentially, but of course, that being said, right, don't have that mindset like love conquers all.
Apart from honesty, I think you just be open as you can. But I think if you really put in the effort and really try to make them understand where you're coming from, then that's when you can actually communicate and make things better.
My advice is, well, I agree with all of y'all. Ultimately, if you want to marry the person, you're marrying the family also. Sometimes in situations where you really feel that their disapproval is something that you cannot get out of, you've done everything that you think that you can do to change out the relationship, because it's like temporary unhappiness better than long-term unhappiness.
Okay, so today we talked about our parents' disapproval in our relationships, and we concluded that honesty, openness, and patience is very important because you need to actually communicate and really understand why there is the disapproval to begin with, and then only then you can actually solve it and kind of go with it objectively and maturely.
So if you guys have any stories to share, you can feel free to leave it in the comments and let us know what else to talk about next time.
And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Bye!
Bye!